end, when young Tom Grimwood shouldered his box and started off for Peacock's farm, working conditions and wages were not so bad as they had been when Tom's father tried to get his first job. That was in 1870, when there was no work at all, and labourers were dying of starvation in the ditches. For Victorian Britain had become an industrial nation and had forgotten the countryside. Even in young Tom's world of 1900, farm labourers were treated little better than the cattle in the fields.
Well, who are you?
I'm Tom Grimwood, the new boiler.
Oh, you are you? Well, come on in. Here, put that thing down on the floor and let's have a good look at you. How old are you?
13 years, ma'am.
Can you milk a cow?
No, ma'am.
Can you ring a pig?
No, ma'am.
Can you drive a plough?
No, ma'am.
Well, how do you reckon you're going to earn £0.50 a week and you keep? Oh, well, I reckon the others will learn you. And that ain't all, because I shall want to hand you round the kitchen door. You'll have to fetch the water, chop the wood, feed the chickens. Then I shall want you to help me with that linen basket on washing day. And then I reckon I want you to do a bit of digging in the garden. Mix the pig feed, scare the crows and all manner of what. I'll tell you what, you might be lazy.
Right.
Well then, what you gotta keep your fire straight. When you want to go to the right, you'll bring down your left handle. When you want to go to the left, you'll bring down your right. See? Hey, look what you're doing, man. You'll be hitting your fire. Whoa, whoa! A little fool, you should have pressed the other handle. Right handle take your left, left take your right. See?
Yes.
Here, come on. Well then, that'll allow you to break your fire. If you do it again, I'll warm you behind. Now then, on we go. And remember, right take your left, left take your right.
A farm labourer, lowest paid, worst housed worker in the whole community. But his apprenticeship starts the day he is born and goes on until the day he dies. He must learn to use a score of tools: reaper, cultivator, harrow, roller, chaff cutter, drill, rake and hoe. He must have an instinct for the changing moods of wind and weather. He must understand animals, how to work them, look after them, doctor them. He must know the different soils and the crops best suited to them. So, after 8 years of heavy work in cold and heat, wet and dry, Tom grew up to manhood, hard of hand, broad of back, and slow of tread. Tom Grimwood, a farm worker.
You're used to housework, are you? Can you drive a binder?
Yes, sir. I took on the pieces and put that together again.
Did that go out?
Yes, sir, I wholly did.
Well, that's just what I want. Can you milk a cow chance time, Mr. Kerman, Joe?
Yes, sir. I can do anything on a farm.
I reckon you're the man I want. When can you come?
Monday week, sir.
Let me see, you said you were 21. I shall have to pay you a full man's wages, I do. That's 14 bob. That do?
There were one thing I wanted to ask you. Well, what I mean, did a person say they were a cottage?
Are you a married man, then?
Well, no, sir,
But you're thinking of popping the question, are you?
That's right, sir.
Local girl?
No, sir, she ain't from these parts.
Well, you better go and have a look at it. That's the first house on the left when you leave the gate. Here's the key. Bring it back to the house when you're done with it, and wait you a minute. Here's something to drink my health with.
Thank you, sir. Night, sir.
Good night.
It's all right, Lil. I've been took on. And a full man's wages. There's the key of the house.
You can't do much better around here.
Lil, do you reckon we could put the bands up for Sunday?
I'm so glad, Tom. Hello, Daddy.
Hello, Jackie boy. Hi, baby. Come on, let's see. Here we are. Hello, Mrs. How's the beefsteak going, gal?
Beefsteak? The likes of us are lucky if we get a bit of scrag once a fortnight.
Oh, well, I ain't over particular.
And look at the way you're splashing that water about. You're making a regular mess of my clean bricks.
Sorry, Mrs.
Still, that ain't your fault. That's what comes of having a kitchen without any sink. I'm sick of that. This old house, I ain't had nothing done to it in 6 years. I wish you could find another place.
Now look here, gal. We had all this out of for. If we did, chances are it wouldn't be any better than this here. And I wouldn't get no more than 16 bob a week. There ain't many houses with a garden as good as this. You know the stuff we've had off that this year. I don't know how we should make out without that. And then there's Master. There's a lot worse than him to work for, and I will say you hardly know how to farm. I tell you, he's the sort of care more what he put into the land than what he take out. And that's the kind of master I like to work for.
Hello, Daddy. Oh, good morning, my good man. Could you tell us how to get back to the hall? I fear we've lost our way.
Yes'm. You ain't far. You ain't only got to get over that there stile, and then the path will lead you right to the Hall Drive.
Thank you. Do you think we ought to give him anything? Oh, yes. He's only a farm labourer. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, ma'am, I'm sure.
Only a farm labourer. After 2 years of war, the German U-boats, mines and surface raiders had almost cut off our food supplies, and it was to the mere farm labourer that we turned. The workers of the land, farmers and farm labourers alike, neglected and forgotten for 50 years, now became our front line of defence.
Morning, Master.
One, Tom?
I wanted to show you this here. I've been called up for the army.
You don't want to worry, boy. You can use that light you have pipe with. I've applied for you, do you see? Yeah, what they call a highly skilled man. They want you at home keeping whittles.
That'll brighten the missus.
Ah, there's going to be a big rise in wages, too. But I don't know where that's coming from. How's that bit of gas breaking up?
Oh, half tidy. Just a few hour roads now and then, but I ain't broke a share yet.
Oh, well, I'll give you a look up a bit later on.
Master say there's going to be a big rise in wages.
Ah, so I had. And high time, too. What with the price of things?
You say you don't know where that's coming from?
Well, what did we join the union for? There's plenty of money about.
As I was saying, our fighting forces have trounced the enemy on land, on sea, and in the air. A grateful nation will remember its duty to them. But I also wish to pay tribute to another army, the army of our men on the land. What would the brave deeds of our gallant fighting forces have availed if you hadn't toiled to keep the shadow of starvation from our shores? You, too, have earned the nation's gratitude. As you are well aware, the country has already shown its appreciation by an increase in the price of corn for the farmer and an increase in wages for the laborer. That is not all. From trustworthy sources that are available to me, I am able to inform you that it is the intention of the government to keep the price of wheat at a level that will enable the farmer to make a reasonable profit, and wages at a level that will enable the laborer to live in decency and comfort.
How we do with that?
Gentlemen, I do not intend to distract your attention any longer from the excellent beer that our entertainment committee has provided. I can only conclude by saying that we may now justifiably look forward to an era of peace and ever-increasing prosperity.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's...
Well, gentlemen, we all know why we're here. The Corn Production Act has gone, and there's no check on the price of corn. The price is falling already. The wages board has gone too, and there's no check on wages. So we, like the masters and men's representatives in every other district, are meeting at the request of the government to try to hammer out an agreed local rate.
I don't see what hammering it is to do. We all know that wages won't put up to improve a lot of the farm labour. They will put up just as we live. Well, the government hasn't reduced the cost of living along with the price of corn, has it?
That's all very fine. But look at it like this. We always used to reckon a sack of corn paid a man's wages for a week. Well, now the price of corn's down to 30 bob a sack, we can't go on paying 43 shillings a week.
But if you want the land farmed, you've got to keep the labour alive.
Yes, and what about the farmer?
Yes, but we all know who's going to be the first to suffer. Gentlemen, keep to the point, please.
We want the land farmed, all right. But the question is, do the nation? While there was a war on, they wanted it right enough. But now they can buy cheap food from abroad. They don't care a hang what become of us.
Well, gentlemen, we don't seem any nearer agreement than we were at the beginning. It's very regrettable, but I'm afraid we shall have to leave the whole matter for each master to settle with his own men.
I'm a-thinking what the old man's going to do.
Well, I'm a-going up to the house to find out.
You've done it all right. Look what he give me. 30 bob.
Ah, Tom. Well, Here's your little lot.
30 bob. That's 12 shillings short.
That is poor, but that can't be helped. Government said they'd keep wheat at 68 shillings, but they ain't. I can't pay high wages if I don't get the money. We both of us got to live.
But we have, sir. How can a man live on 30 bob nowadays? Well, the money ain't worth what it was for the war.
I know that, Tom, but I can't pay if I ain't got the money.
Well, I'll jack up. You can take my notice.
What you going to do, Tom?
Why, I don't know. I reckon I might find something in town.
Well, see you here a minute. If you're a-going, I shall have to find another horseman to plough up my stubble this autumn, and he'll want your cottage. That means I shall have to ask you to get out of that by Saturday week.
Well, I reckon I'll have to stay on after all.
I'm right glad of that, Tom. I didn't want to lose a good man like you.
What, Tom? Where's he brought?
That's all he give me.
Where's the rest?
That's all we're gonna get. Wages brought and packed up.
But how are we going to live? And what about the installments on the carpet?
I'll just have to go back, that's all.
And there's our Lucy's scholarship. How are we going to pay her fare to the high school and buy her books and all that?
She'll just have to go in the service and on as soon as she can. I'll bring something in.
Oh, Tom, can't you find some work in town? There's more money there.
Out of that gal. Tell you, I was in a mind to give notice. Well, he'd have turned us out of the cottage neck and crop. There's a master lot out of work in the town already. Well, I reckon we'll make out somehow.
Just as things were getting a little bit easier.
Once again, the land was forgotten. As world trade got back to normal, as the wheat pools of the New World began their ticker-tape operations in a flurry of shouting dealers and waving papers, as the high seas became once more open to the world's tonnage, as foodstuffs in ever-increasing quantities poured into Britain's ports in exchange for coal, manufactured goods and machinery, so the promise of British agriculture vanished like smoke. Farming went downhill. Land went out of cultivation. Farmers and workers alike found themselves faced with a slump in prices and the collapse of their markets. All over again, the old story of neglect. In the fields, weeds instead of crops and pasture. In the villages, less work, less wages. Yet at this very time we were trying, however half-heartedly, to improve conditions of life. Aided by government grants, local authorities built new cottages for farm workers. Country transport improved. Buses brought children from the villages to the new central schools. The grid brought the promise of an easier domestic life, of better farming methods. But it looked as though all these improvements were no more than flowers at a funeral, for agriculture had touched rock bottom.
Well, hello, Tom. How now, Bill? I ain't seen you since you left the farm and went to town. No, I don't doubt your hint. Well, you're glad you went? Glad. That's the best day's work I ever done in my life. Of course, I didn't like to leave the land, but what, 25 bob or 30 bob a week? Well, I just couldn't do it. Why, at the factory, I earn 45 bob a week, half day every Saturday afternoon, and a week's holiday every year. Of course, I'm one of the lucky ones. There's more on the labour now than ever there was, so I can't grumble. Sounds half tidy. Ah. Well, what you doing down there at the bottom of that old ditch? What, you're a roadman or something?
No, it says relief. 3 days a week, Bobby and Bob.
Relief what?
Old man stood me off last month.
Stood you off? So if I come to that, have it?
I haven't no mistake. I remember my father saying when he were a lad, that were in the 70s like, well, now it's easy to get a job. But in my time, there's always been work to be had on the land, even if you don't get much for it. But like this here, I'm thankful young Jack be on and the girls be offhand. Just enough for me and the missus to keep body and soul together.
Ah. But look here, Tom. Why don't you try your luck in town?
I thought of that afore, Bill. See, I mightn't be one of the lucky ones. Standing around labour all day.
Ah, I know what that is.
Besides, like this here, I were brought up to the land and I allus lived by the land. I reckon with all you blokes going away, someone will stay behind and see out of it. And you see, if we can make out through the winter, I know I can start again with the sugar beet hoeing. Well, I reckon they'll have to do something for us. Can't let that go right to ruin, can they?
It seemed as though British agriculture was finished. All through the 20s and 30s, more and more young men were drifting off to the towns as soon as they grew up. Successive governments tried to cope with the problem. They subsidized agriculture out of taxes levied on the towns. They brought in subsidies for sugar beet, wheat, milk, and livestock. They started marketing schemes, quotas, tariffs. In 1924, wages and hours were regulated. A 60-hour week and a minimum wage of 30 shillings. But not until 1936 did the farm worker get the dole. So for 20 long years, masters and men, with faith in themselves and faith in the soil, held on always with the hope that things would change. But nowhere was there any real sign of a new heart coming back into the land. For the second time in 25 years, war forced us to take stock of our agriculture and of the men who lived by it. For the second time, we have had to reclaim millions of derelict acres which we now need so badly.
How do they break up, Tom?
Clear off, sir, no mistake. I have broke 2 shares on that already this morning.
I don't wonder. Rough old land like this here. Don't see much change out of that 2 quid an acre government give us. Time they take to turn up. That's a good job all new plough land ain't like this.
That's right, sir.
Still, they look after you all right. You're getting 1.5 times you did before the war. Still, there you are. Never been better off in your life, I reckon. Well, I've now got to move on and pay the other chaps. Mind you behave yourself with all that money in your pocket.
Tom, could you give me another £0.5 for the housekeeping? I know that ain't long since you give me an extra 5 bob, but if I'm to feed you properly, I can't make out without. You need your cheese and bacon working hard like you do.
Well, I reckon we can find it somehow. Still leaves a tenner or 2 for a pint of beer. I'll now go down the line and have that before they drink up the week's supply. See you later.
And shagging about some ashes, too. In a bread, in a band, in a top.
Ding dong.
not round here today, Tom?
Ah, how they do the bar is good.
Can't do that.
Yeah, Tom.
How much will I come to?
Going to be a settlement, night tobacco, 1 cent halfpenny, that's 1 and 10 and halfpenny, box of matches, 3 halfpence, 2 bob.
Yeah? Come to think on it, there were a different tale at the beginning of the war. There were 4 the beer, 7 tobacco, and the matches. There were shillings.
Just about, guess what with the price of things in the shops? I'm glad I raised a good bit of stuff in the garden this year.
Well, I can't say we ain't worked our 48, Bob. We plowed up those extra 2 million acres the government asked for. Yes, you have.
And a lot more besides going want to pay besides.
There's a master lot of stuff on 'em, too. That'll fill several bellies by the time we got that in.
That certainly will, well.
Well, here's the best together.
Go. No.
Well, we got that lot of flash there then.
It's all like that, they can't grumble. Well, good night, Father.
Good night.
Night, all.
Good night.
Hello, you're late.
We stayed on half an hour to get that all flashed. Might rain tonight.
Well, I got a nice bit of haddock for your supper.
I'll have to get that down quick. I'm on duty tonight.
And splashes. You don't know so much, do you? That little old clock be 5 minutes slow, and there's a talk I want to hear.
Which will be of interest to everyone who is concerned with the future of British agriculture. The minimum wage of the farm worker has now been raised to 60 shillings a week, almost double what it was 3 years ago. Once again, war has forced us to realize the importance of the farm worker's job. The farm worker, like any other worker, has a right to a secure job, good wages, regular hours, and a yearly holiday with pay. He has a right to a well-built house with good water supplies, drains, lighting and heating. A right to good schools for his children, and agricultural colleges where, as they grow up, they can learn the complex processes of modern agriculture. These things are the responsibility of the British people, and we must see that they are done. But it's no good planning prosperity in our own country if we ignore the rest of the world. In the past years, many other countries have faced agricultural disaster. The land of the whole world must be properly farmed and made fully fertile, so that the needs of all people in all countries may be satisfied. Every living person in this world depends for life itself on the produce of the soil. And the men and women whose labor raises the food we need are the mainstay of our existence. We, like every other nation, must learn this lesson. Never again must we neglect our land and the men and women who live by it.
That mean you and me, gal? I reckon that's right.
They said all that in the last war.
Ah, well. This time it's got to be different. Good night, though.
Good night, Tom.